So, today we're going to try and look at the Bondi Beach tragedy through a really different lens. I mean, we've all seen the headlines, right? But what if there's something else going on here? Something deeper, more ancient. A conflict that really forces us to ask some huge questions about good, evil, and, where faith fits into our world today.
Think about Bondi Beach for a second. It's kind of like our modern-day Eden, isn't it? Sun, freedom, peace. It's the postcard image of a perfect day. And then, in just an instant, all of that was completely shattered. That phrase, the shadow of hell descended, wow, it just perfectly captures the horror, doesn't it? It forces us to stop thinking about this as just another crime. No, this pushes it into a whole other category, a real, profound, philosophical crisis. All right, so let's get into it. Let's really frame this. We're going to look at Bondi, not just as a place on a map, but as an arena, like a stage where this timeless, epic conflict just erupted right in front of us. And that brings us right to the heart of it, the core question we have to ask ourselves. As you watch those terrifying videos, as you saw the chaos unfold, were you just seeing another act of random senseless violence? Or were you seeing something else? Something more ancient, a real struggle between the fundamental forces of good and evil playing out right there on the pavement. Okay, let's start by digging into one side of this conflict, what some might call the incarnation of evil itself. We're going to look at the attacker's role, but through a theological lens. So what happens if we step back from the usual psychological explanations and start to see this as, well, an archetypal force at play? When you really think about it, the attacker's actions, they just don't make sense from a logical standpoint. I mean, what was the motive? There was no robbery, no clear target, nothing. It was just chaos for the sake of chaos. And in theological terms, that kind of pure, unprovoked evil has a name. It's often seen as the incarnation of the demonic, the adversary, a force that doesn't want anything except to tear down order and inflict suffering. It's like it was literally walking among us.
And of course, an event like this throws us right into one of the oldest, toughest questions in all of philosophy. You know the one, the problem of evil. If there's a God who is all-powerful and all-good, then why does he let something this horrific happen? Why? That silence, God's silence in the face of so much pain, that's often the single biggest challenge to anyone's faith. So, it all boils down to this, right? Where was God in that moment? I mean, really, is the fact that he seemed absent just proof that he's not there at all? Or was something else entirely going on? That question just hangs there in the air, doesn't it? Heavy, and for a moment, totally unanswered. But then, right in the middle of all that silence, all that chaos, an answer started to take shape. And it didn't come from the sky in a bolt of lightning. Nope, it came from right there, from inside the crowd. A single person stepped forward, and in doing so, created this incredibly powerful counterpoint to all the despair. And this is where you see this amazing, powerful symmetry. I mean, it's a perfect mirror image. If the attacker represents this incarnation of the demonic, then the hero who stood up to him has to be the exact opposite, right? A reflection of divine grace. And maybe that's the point. Maybe God's answer to evil isn't always some dramatic intervention from above. Maybe it's an act of incredible courage from an ordinary person. So what could possibly motivate someone to do that? To run towards the danger? Well, theology has a word for it, agape, or supreme love. And look, this isn't just about liking someone or feeling affection. No, this is something totally different. It's a radical, self-sacrificial impulse, this deep-down drive to live for others, even if it means paying the ultimate price. It's considered the closest we, as humans, can ever get to expressing something truly divine.
Let's just break down what's happening in that one single moment of heroism. It's incredible. First, you got free will. He could have run, but he chose to confront. Second, he literally chose to absorb the suffering. He became a human shield to protect strangers. And in doing that, he was basically reenacting one of the most ancient archetypes we have, the scapegoat. You know, the one who willingly takes on the pain to save everyone else? Okay, so how do we put all this together? We've got these two totally opposite forces clashing, one of just pure destructive malice and the other of pure selfless sacrifice. Let's explore three different ways of looking at this, three ultimate interpretations that might help us make some sense of the chaos.
So here are three completely different ways to look at what happened, and each one gives a totally different answer to that big why question. First up, you have the deterministic view. Think of God as a grand chess master. He allows evil onto the board to test our faith, sure, but he also places a hero there, a piece that acts as this living proof of hope. Then you've got the free will view. In this version, God's role was to grant us total freedom, and then he stepped back. That makes humanity a kind of self-saving God, where our choices, for good or for evil, are the only things that truly shape our destiny. And finally, there's the secular warning. This one just says, look, God is irrelevant to this whole discussion. It's on us. We have to create our own meaning, and we do that by elevating human virtues like heroism and sacrifice into their own kind of secular divinity.
All right, let's bring this all home. Let's boil down this entire complex theological puzzle into one single provocative image that really gets to the heart of the conflict.
When you strip everything else away, this is what you're left with, this powerful, simple duality. One force, let's call it the devil, was all about inflicting pain. The other, the hero, was all about absorbing it. That's it. These two figures, in direct opposition, create this incredibly stark and unforgettable picture for our modern times.
And all of this leaves us with one last really provocative question to think about. When that hero was wounded, what did that wound actually represent? Think about it. Was it a mark left by Satan, a grim reminder that evil can touch and scar anyone? Or was it a medal conferred by God, a shining proof that goodness can and will rise up from anywhere? How you answer that? Well, it doesn't just define what happened on that day. It might just define how you see the entire world.